Another negative. Jennifer Bradley let out a deep sigh as she looked at the pregnancy test in her bathroom. Her luxury Manhattan apartment was filled with morning light, but her heart felt heavy. For 3 long years, she had been going through fertility treatments, endless shots, pills, doctor visits, and the same crushing disappointment every month. Each negative test felt like another crack in her heart. At 35, Jennifer had built a strong career. She was a respected accountant at a well-known firm in Boston. She was organized, smart, and kind. Clients trusted her completely. She wore glasses that gave her a studious look, and her brown eyes showed quiet strength, even as they filled with tears over another failed test. Her daily life was exhausting: injections 3 mornings a week, pills every day, checkups almost constantly. Still, she never gave up. Every Sunday, Jennifer went to Trinity Church. She sat in the wooden pews, sunlight shining through the stained glass windows, and prayed, "Please, Lord, bless me with a child." "Jenny." The Johnson meetings at 8, called out her husband, Michael, from the bedroom. He was the sales director at a real estate company, always polished, always on time. With his sharp suits and calm smile, people often saw him as the perfect husband. At his office in Credential Tower, he always looked like he had it all together. But no one knew his secret. Michael was infertile. He found out years ago but never told Jennifer. He was too proud, too afraid it would affect his image at work or damage their marriage, so he silently went with her to every treatment, pretending they were both trying. Deep down, he carried guilt, but he said nothing. "I know," Jennifer replied softly. She stepped out of the bathroom, dressed in her usual elegant suit, and boarded the commuter train to her office in Boston's Back Bay. She tried to push her pain aside and focus on work. Meanwhile, in a small nail salon just outside the city, Jennifer's younger sister, Amy Carter, was getting ready to open for the day. With her long, flashy blonde hair tied up and her trendy outfit on, she looked every bit the confident businesswoman. Her salon, slightly off Newbury Street, had become popular, thanks to help from their stepmother. Amy and Jennifer had grown up very differently after their mother died young. Their father remarried, and their stepmother always favored Amy. She gave her more love, better gifts, more attention. Jennifer was often ignored or left out. Over time, Amy began to see Jennifer as competition. "Big sister is always perfect," Amy muttered as she did her makeup. Jennifer had always been the overachiever: great grades, a Harvard degree, a fancy job, and a husband who looked like he stepped out of a magazine. Deep inside, Amy carried envy and resentment. On the surface, Jennifer and Michael seemed to have the perfect marriage. They lived in a stunning apartment, enjoyed weekend brunches, shopped at Whole Foods, and exercised at luxury gyms. But behind closed doors, the fertility struggle had started to wear them down. One Sunday, during their regular brunch, Amy casually said, "Hey sis, I'm pregnant." Jennifer smiled politely, but she didn't miss it. Michael's face froze for a second. The sparkling mimosa on the table caught the sunlight, as if trying to hide the chill that had just entered the room. Time quietly ticked by, but Jennifer felt something shift. By late spring, things had changed. "You're working late again?" Jennifer asked one evening from the sofa. Michael, fixing his tie, said, "Yeah, Johnson project again." Late nights weren't rare in his field, but something felt off. He used to call her when he'd be late. Now it was just cold, short texts. After long work weekends, he came home looking fresh, not tired. His phone was always glued to his hand, even during dinner or in the shower. He texted constantly, spoke in whispers on the balcony, and started laughing more when messaging someone. She noticed other strange things too. A new tie, one that didn't match his usual taste. A birthday gift from staff, he said, even though his birthday was 2 months away. She also found a new scent on his suit, sweet and seductive. Not anything she wore, not Chanel, not Jo Malone, a younger woman's perfume. He had started dressing better, using new cologne, golfing more, taking longer showers. He no longer went grocery shopping with her. He was slipping away. Jennifer's prayers at church changed. She no longer begged for a baby, now she was begging for her marriage to survive. Am I just imagining all this? She kept asking herself. She worked harder, kept going to the clinic, and tried to be the loving, supportive wife. But fate had other plans. One rainy afternoon in June, Jennifer had just left the hospital after a checkup. Walking down Newbury Street, she stopped. Michael's car, parked outside Amy's nail salon, far from his office. Through the window, she saw their shadows, close together, too close. They were laughing, touching. Her heart dropped. No, it can't be. She couldn't confront it. She turned and walked away in the rain, tears mixing with the drops on her cheeks. 2 weeks later, she found the truth in black and white, receipts for expensive dinners, drinks, and services at Amy's salon, all dated on Michael's so-called overtime days. My clients referred Michael to, Amy had once said. Now Jennifer understood what she really meant. Amy had started wearing designer clothes, driving a new car, and her salon looked freshly remodeled. It all made sense. The night of Amy's pregnancy announcement at a fancy French restaurant, Jennifer had seen it again, Michael's hand trembling as he nearly dropped his wine glass. Amy smiled like she had just won a prize. Their stepmother's loud congratulations only made it worse. Jennifer knew she was no longer imagining things. By July, Jennifer and Michael were basically strangers, separate bedrooms, no real conversations, holidays apart. He kept disappearing. Their home was cold and silent. Then, one night, Michael said, "I'm thinking about transferring to the Chicago office for a couple of years." Fertility treatments weren't even mentioned anymore. Jennifer understood, this was his way of leaving without saying it. "What happened to us?" she asked. He had no answer. By August, Amy's due date was near. Jennifer had gathered evidence, phone records, receipts, witness accounts, and then, the final proof, photos from a private investigator of Amy and Michael entering a hotel. On the day Amy gave birth, Jennifer walked into the hospital. She knocked on the door and stepped inside. There they were, Amy in her bed, holding the baby, and Michael standing beside her like they were a couple. Amy was glowing, wearing makeup and bright pink pajamas. "It's a boy," she chirped. Michael managed a smile. "Congratulations," Jennifer said calmly. Then Amy's smile turned cruel. "Hey sis, I guess I'm the better woman after all. I have a baby, you don't." The room went still. Michael stared out the window. Jennifer's hands stayed steady. Suddenly, the door opened. Dr. Peterson, the head doctor, walked in. He looked serious. "I have the baby's blood test results," he said. "The baby's blood type is AB." Jennifer blinked. Michael's blood type is O, the doctor added. "And Amy's is B, so is yours, Jennifer." Everyone froze. "As you know," the doctor continued, "a father with type O blood cannot have a child with type AB. It's genetically impossible." Amy's face turned white. "And," he said, pulling out more papers, "Michael's fertility records from 3 years ago confirm severe infertility. Natural conception would have been nearly impossible. That hasn't changed." Michael turned pale. Amy's hands shook. The baby started to cry. Jennifer stood. "Do we even need a DNA test?" she asked, her voice calm. The truth was out. 10 years of marriage, 3 years of treatments, a betrayal deeper than she had ever imagined. Michael and Amy left the hospital without saying a word. Their footsteps echoed down the hall. Jennifer stood at the window, holding the doctor's documents, proof of everything. Quietly, "Dr. Peterson said, these can be used in court, Mrs. Bradley, if you choose to." Jennifer sat quietly in the doctor's office, her face calm, though her heart was heavy. "I can also testify as a witness," the doctor said gently. He had known Jennifer for many years and there was sadness in his voice. "Thank you," Jennifer replied softly, holding herself together. That night, when Jennifer returned to her luxury condo in Boston's Back Bay, the apartment felt colder than usual. She walked into the bedroom, and immediately knew. The closet, once filled with Michael's suits and shoes, was empty. Just a few hangers swung back and forth like ghosts of what used to be. His cologne, his books, even his toothbrush, gone. But what remained was a new scent, a woman's perfume she didn't recognize, lingering faintly in the air. It said everything without words. On the desk in the study, she found an envelope. Inside, there was a reservation confirmation for the Four Seasons Hotel in Manhattan. Michael had fled, running like a criminal. That's where he was hiding now. She opened the desk drawers. Inside were documents, proof of investments Michael had made in her sister Amy's beauty salon. Every month, $50,000 had been quietly transferred. Jennifer's hands shook as she held the papers. Her husband hadn't just cheated, he had financially supported Amy behind her back. The next morning, Jennifer walked into a law firm on the 45th floor of the Prudential Tower. The view of the Charles River sparkled in the sunlight, but Jennifer barely noticed. She was there to begin her divorce. "I'm Sarah Collins, from Collins and Associates," the lawyer greeted her. Sarah was confident, professional, and calm. In her late 40s, she had a strong presence. A Harvard Law graduate, she was known for handling complex divorce cases. "This case is very clear," Sarah said as she laid out the files. "There's strong evidence of infidelity, photographs, financial records, and even medical reports, and the fact that this was between sisters will definitely make an impact in court. Judges take that kind of betrayal seriously in Massachusetts." On the table were surveillance photos showing Michael and Amy entering hotels, sharing quiet dinners, and laughing at the salon. There were text messages, call logs, and transaction records. "We can ask for $300,000 in damages," Sarah continued. "That's double the typical amount. We'll also ask for 80% of the condo and the investment accounts, and full reimbursement of your fertility treatment costs, $127,500. Jennifer nodded slowly. She had been married to Michael for 10 years. They had spent 3 of those years trying for a child, endless treatments, hospital visits, tears, and hope, and he had thrown it all away for an affair with her own sister. No amount of money could undo that betrayal. Meanwhile, at her childhood home in Brookline, the news had reached her family. The Boston Globe had published an article exposing the affair of a well-known real estate executive, Michael. Her stepmother Mary sat in the living room, pale and shaking. Her hands trembled as she held a teacup. She had loved Amy like her own child. Now that child had destroyed the family. I raised her," Mary whispered. In the study, Jennifer's father George sat quietly, reading the article. He was a Harvard professor, known for his intelligence and calm manner, but now he lowered the newspaper and spoke. "Mary," he said firmly, "you spoiled Amy too much, and you were too cold to Jennifer. This imbalance in our home is what led us here." It was the first time he had openly criticized his wife's favoritism. A family photo hung on the wall above him, 2 little girls smiling beside their parents, a frozen memory from a simpler time. After church that Sunday, Jennifer stayed in the garden of Trinity Church for a long time. The stone walls and stained glass windows stood behind her like silent guardians. She knelt in prayer, her faith giving her strength when everything else had fallen apart. Reverend Martha, a kind older priest in her 70s, gently approached. "God sees your suffering," she told Jennifer, her words a soft balm to her wounds. By the end of September, Jennifer and her lawyer had gathered everything: proof of Michael and Amy's 3-year affair, hotel room records from the Mandarin Oriental, always room 2112, expensive dinner receipts, bank records of secret investments, dozens of texts and calls every day, videos and photos that left nothing to the imagination. It was undeniable. Michael and Amy had planned this betrayal for years. When Sarah Collins finally called, Jennifer was ready. The final meeting was held at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, in a high-end conference room on the 12th floor. The room was silent and tense. A long wooden table stood in the center. Outside the windows, the lights of Boston began to flicker on. Michael was there, looking nervous. His lawyer sat beside him. Amy sat across the table with her own lawyer. She looked down, unable to meet Jennifer's eyes. Her designer handbag trembled in her lap. Their stepmother Mary had also come, pale and silent. "We are demanding $300,000 in damages," Sarah announced. 80% of the Back Bay condo, all joint investment accounts, and full reimbursement of the $127,500 in medical costs for fertility treatment. Michael's jaw tightened. Amy gripped her hands together. "And from Amy Carter," Sarah continued, $150,000 in damages. "No," Mary suddenly shouted. "Amy can't possibly." "Be quiet," Jennifer interrupted. Her voice was like ice. The room fell silent. "You spoiled her," Jennifer said coldly. "That's why this happened. She seduced my husband, lied about a pregnancy to manipulate me, and you defended her. This is a small price for what she's done." Mary collapsed into her chair. Her expensive Chanel suit wrinkled, but no one cared anymore. The negotiations moved quickly. Neither Michael nor Amy had any power to argue. The DNA test results were already in. Amy's baby was not Michael's. The father was one of her salon clients. That truth hit Michael hard. Jennifer quietly signed the papers. The Mont Blanc pen in her hand left a clear, smooth signature. she looked up at them one last time. "Don't ever come near me again," she said. That night, as Jennifer stepped outside the hotel, the full moon was glowing in the sky. Boston Common Park was peaceful, the trees swaying in the wind, red maple leaves fluttered to the ground like silent blessings from the universe. She drove to her childhood home, where her father was waiting at the door. When he saw her, he simply opened his arms. "Jenny," he said, pulling her into a long, warm hug. For the first time in many years, Jennifer allowed herself to cry. The tears fell freely, washing away years of pain and silence. In the study, a photo of her and Amy as little girls sat on the desk. They were smiling, innocent, with their arms around each other. Beside it was their mother's portrait, a graceful woman in a kimono, smiling gently. "Mom," Jennifer whispered, reaching out to touch the frame. Behind her, the grandfather clock ticked quietly. Outside the window, the wind stirred the trees, red leaves danced in the moonlight, welcoming a new beginning.